Your child says, I'm fine, but you know that version of fine. The one where they answer too quickly, the one where they disappear upstairs, the one where the school was okay, but the whole body looks like it's been carrying something all day. And then you start questioning yourself. Am I overreacting? Am I making this bigger than it is? Should I push them to talk? Should I leave them alone? But deep down, you know something has changed. After bullying, rejection, exclusion, or friendship hurt, children do not always come home and explain what happened. Sometimes they just come home different, quieter, sharper, more tired, less themselves. And that is why I do not start with confidence. Because when a child has been socially hurt, the first thing they need is not a pep talk. They need to feel safe again. Because calm comes first and confidence follows. Most parents do not notice one big dramatic moment. They notice the tiny changes that are hard to explain. Your child spends longer in their room. They stop telling you things. They get irritated when you ask small questions. They don't want to go to school. They say they don't care, but clearly they do. And you know what the hardest part is for a lot of families and a lot of people? They still look fine to everyone else. They still go to school, albeit kicking and screaming. They still answer the teacher some of the time. They still walk through the door. So you're left holding this horrible feeling of, well, everyone thinks they're okay, but I see that they're not. And maybe you have even thought, I just want my child back. Not the perfect version, not the confident version, just the one who used to laugh more easily, the one who didn't seem so guarded, the one who didn't have to think so hard before being themselves, the child who disappeared. But they may have just been covered up, and that version of us can always be found again. Because when a child shuts down, they feel trapped between two bad options. You push and they pull away. You ask what happened, they say nothing. You ask what was involved, they say no one. You ask why don't you tell me, and suddenly they're angry or silent. And then you try the other option. You say nothing. You give them space. You try not to make it worse. You tell yourself, maybe they'll come round to it when they're ready. But then at night, your mind starts spinning. Am I respecting their space, or am I leaving them alone with something too heavy? Now, that is what I call the parent trap. And this is exhausting because you're trying to control them. Because you're not trying to control them, you're trying to reach them. When a child has been bullied or excluded or rejected or laughed at, adults often think we need to rebuild their confidence. And that makes sense because on the outside, it looks like confidence is gone. They avoid attention, they stop joining in, they do not want to try, they second guess everything. And your child becomes smaller and smaller in rooms that used to be themselves. But here's the belief shift it may not be confidence, it may be safety. Because the truth is, if a child learns, when I'm myself, I get laughed at. When I speak, I get judged. When I stand out, I get targeted. When I trust people, I get hurt. Then confidence starts to feel dangerous. Being visible feels a threat to our well being. Trying again feels risky. Even happiness feels risky. Because what if someone notices and knocks it out of them? So if we rush straight to confidence, we may accidentally ask them to step back in the very place they're trying to avoid. This is why the order matters. Not confidence first, calm first, safety next, expression next, and confidence follows. This is the reframe I wish more parents were given. Your child has not disappeared. They may just be protecting themselves. That moodiness, it may be armor. That I don't care, it may mean I care so much, but I just can't talk about it right now. That anger when you ask questions, it may mean please don't make me feel exposed again. That silence, it may mean I don't know how to explain this without falling apart. After social hurt, some children make an unconscious decision. I will never let people see that much of me again. So they shrink, they monitor themselves. They hide the funny part, the soft part, the enthusiastic part, the part that used to walk into a room without scanning for danger. And from the outside, it can look like attitude, but underneath, it's fear. When we understand that, we stop asking, how do I make my child more confident? And we start asking, what would help my child feel safe enough to come back out? That question changes everything. And that's why I use the calm first method. Because a child cannot be pressured back into confidence. They have to be supported back safely. First, we reduce the emotional noise. Not by pretending nothing happened, not by brushing it off, not by saying, oh, just ignore them, boys will be boys, but helping the child feel less watched, less questioned, less exposed, and less alone. And then we rebuild safety. That means helping them feel I'm not in trouble, I'm not too much, I do not have to explain everything all at once. I have an adult who can handle this without panicking. Then comes expression. And this is where little pieces of them start coming back. A little joke, a preference, a small opinion, a willingness to try something again. A moment when they forgot to protect themselves. And then confidence. Not fake confidence, not stand tall and be brave or fake it till you make it. Real, innate confidence. The kind that grows when a child starts to trust, maybe it is safe to be me again. So, if your child keeps shutting down, the first conversation should not feel like an interview, because when a child already feels exposed, questions can feel like a spotlight. So, instead of what happened or who did it or why don't you tell me, what are you going to do about it, try lowering the pressure. You might want to say, I'm not going to force you to talk. I just notice you don't seem quite yourself lately. You're not in trouble, and I'm here for you, and we can take it slowly. Now, that sentence matters because it kind of tells your child, I've noticed, I'm not panicking. And that certainty and that calmness signals to the child that everything will be okay. If we panic, if we have blame, if we try and drag the story out of our kids, that signals the opposite. So the goal is not to get the full story in one conversation. The goal is to make it feel safer for your child to open the door again, even a little, just so we don't leave them alone with the pain and the suffering. So, progress is not always your child suddenly becoming confident again. Sometimes progress is smaller. They sit downstairs for 10 minutes or longer. They answer with more than just one word. They let you sit beside them without pushing you away. They mention a tiny detail from school. They laugh, they joke, their spark comes back. That matters because after bullying or friendship hurt, we are not looking for a performance of confidence. We are looking for signs that the pressure inside them is starting to reduce. And that can look like knowing what to say, not spiraling after every mood change, understanding the difference between stress and our innate well being, having a calmer step when tough situations occur. And when a parent becomes calmer, the child often feels less pressure to prove they're okay. And sometimes this is where the rebuilding really begins. Not with a dramatic breakthrough, but with a home that feels emotionally safe to come back to. So instead of asking, how can I fix them? I ask, what happened that made them feel they had to hide? Because they're very different questions. So I start from the premise that children don't need to be toughened up or don't need to be, you know, I believe every human has innate resilience or innate peace of mind. So I don't fix them, I don't kind of give them anything. I just help them uncover more of their innate wellness, more of that peace of mind, that calmness, that safety. Every child is different. One child becomes quiet, another becomes angry, one avoids school, another acts like nothing happened. One wants to talk constantly, another can't bear being asked. So the work cannot be generic. It has to consider the child, the parent, the school situation, the friendship dynamics, and the specific hurt that change things. These sessions are child led but guided. That means your child is not forced to perform or explain or be confident before they are ready. But they're also not left to drift. There is structure, there is care, there is a calm path forward. And parents are included too, because parents carry this heavily. The guilt, the anger, the fear of missing something, all too much. It's not about making a child pretend they are fine, it's about helping them feel safe enough to become more like themselves again. So, through Adam Gross coaching, I help families create a calmer, clearer way forward after bullying, rejection, exclusion, or friendship hurts or confidence knocks. It might mean reducing the pressure at home. It might mean helping the child feel safer or less alone. It might mean rebuilding confidence in a way that doesn't feel forced or fake or overwhelming. Because a child who has been excluded is a very different child from the one that has the same situation but has their confidence unharmed. And that's exactly what I help people do. How can we, we on the road through life, we're going to get our knocks, we're going to get tough situations, but how can we be resilient to handle it with grace, with confidence? Not a lecture, not a worksheet, not a just ignore them talk. A calm first plan for your child, your family, and your situation. If your child keeps saying they're fine, but you know their spark has gone, you don't have to guess through it alone. You do not have to choose between pushing harder and saying nothing. Sometimes the first step is simply getting clear. What changed? What might be protecting them? What might your child be protecting themselves from? What should you say? What should you stop pushing? And what is the next calm step? If that would help, you can book a free clarity call. You can find me on Instagram at Adam Gross Coaching, or you can find me on my website, childbullyingsupport.co.uk. And remember this, your child has not disappeared. They may be protecting themselves. And when we get that order right, calm, safety, expression, that confidence, we give them a much better chance of becoming like themselves again. Calm first, confidence follows.